waves, dice in our hand, we're the dungeon's brave. Adventures tonight with our mighty team, heroes we become, living out the dream.
2024 tabletop role-playing game, Ask Me Anything. Final day, New Year's Eve, 10 o'clock in the morning, and the weather is indecisive here at Site B. It is I, the OG GM, an ineffectual old man crying in the corner. Or am I? I don't know. How many awards did you win this year, Condor? Anyways, we're doing the most craziest role-playing stories that I have. Most craziest in-game experience from this year, and then, of course, all time. Since I've only been playing in one game, really, and running one game, I don't have a lot of stories. The game of the two games I was playing in, one was really disappointing, and the most craziest experience could have happened, but the DM was dead set in letting it not happen, which is part of the reason why I stopped playing. So just basically, as a player, the craziest experience I've had this year was in the 5e game I'm in that I'm not really allowed to talk about. But as you know, I've mentioned that I'm playing a Minotaur who's an assassin because it was pre-generated characters, because it's an adventure. The very first part of the adventure was us trying to solve a murder, because player characters are always great at murder solving. We'd been invited to a party. We were all representatives of our various factions. I was a representative of the fishermen, my Minotaur, because miniature fishermen, such a well-known thing. And when we got there, we found out the individual had been murdered, and we were asked to solve the murder. So we had like an hour, I think it was an hour of real time to try and solve the murder. Now, I was the murderer, apparently, because it said in my background that my character was the one who killed him, but I had to play it as if I wasn't. So I was investigating the murder along with everybody else. And my job as the actual murderer, because I was a Minotaur assassin, because there's a combination you just automatically makes sense. Nothing says stealth and ninja like a 7-foot-tall, 300-pound bipedal cow. But yeah, I assassinated her because of reasons I don't remember. Something to do with the dock people, the wharf people not getting what they wanted, and they wanted to, whatever. She owed money. She deserved to die. Somebody took a contract out on her. I killed her, and then came back and was part of the investigating party. So I was supposed to deflect away from myself and try and press the blame on somebody else, right? So turns out she had a butler. So obviously we're all, it's the butler, because the butler always did it. Though as we went through the adventure, the more we encountered the butler and the more we saw the clues, it did feel like it was the butler. Like I knew, according to the notes that he'd given me, that I was the murderer. But as we're going through the adventure, I'm like, was I really the murderer? Because there's no clues that lead you to believe it was me. In fact, every clue we came up on, including stuff the butler said, led everybody, including me, to think it was the butler. So by the time at the end of the adventure, I was like, it was the butler. It wasn't me. I know it says it was me, but it was a butler. And the DM was like, no, it was you. I was like, no, it's not. Is this like a joke? Because none of the clues led to me thinking it was me. And I was like, and nobody else thought it was me. I was like, I know it says it was me, but we all think it was the butler, including me. I was like, I know I killed her, but are you sure I killed her? Because I'm 90% sure it was the butler. I mean, so yeah, that was pretty weird. And then, just the other running that character, as I've mentioned, has been fun because it's just, he's so bad at being an assassin and being a rogue. And I'm like trying to say, wait, maybe I could dual class as a fighter because I'm a Minotaur. And it's like, so I'm trying to maybe dual class or multi-class as a fighter. It might happen, it might not. I don't know. It's kind of fun being a completely incompetent thief who just sort of bumbles through things. Like, how do I disarm traps? Well, I just walk down the hallway, and if I set it off, there's a trap. I mean, on the bright side, I never get lost because I'm a Minotaur. So that's probably the greatest. As a DM, I think Jen constantly stealing the hats from the various NPCs and making friends with the Dire Ravens is probably the craziest experience we've had in my game. Cal 44 just shooting everybody, using that cowboy diplomacy of just, I shoot him. Talk to him? No, I shoot him. I shoot them. Doesn't matter. I shoot them. They're talking too much. I shoot them. That's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, nothing really major. A lot of minor goofy things, but nothing major that stands out. Now, for the most crazy role-playing story of all time, there's basically 4 that I distinctly remember, right? I mean, one is young kid who was 22 years old and still loved to dance, and how the players ended up kidnapping this NPC that they fell in love with. The other one is the story about the guy who jumped up on the table when he got that natural 20 and somehow defied gravity, literally lifted himself up the ground and landed on the table. To this day, I don't know how that guy was able to jump like that, just do a standing high jump, land on the table. And of course, when he landed on the table, just everything went flying, dice, soda, coffee. He just got so excited that he rolled that natural 20. And he was so angry, because the way the DM had been treating him, that just all that rage just sort of exploded him out of the chair right onto the table. And it was like a once in a lifetime. You couldn't repeat that. And then he's like, natural 20. Meanwhile, yeah, that was great. But probably number 1 is Rodger in the Fireball. All right. That is my greatest all-time role-playing game story. I mean, the guy who left my game because his puppy knocked over his lava lamp and set his iguana on fire. That was weird. Or the girl who left my game because she didn't want to kill the giant turkey, even though the scenario was all about killing the evil giant turkey, but she suddenly remembered she liked animals. Mind you, she'd just spent the last encounter killing 30 wolves, but no, suddenly she's like, I can't kill the giant turkey. It's like, you just killed a bunch of wolves. It's not the same. Okay. But yeah, it's Rodger in the Fireball. That's the best story. Now, you've heard it probably 1,000 times by now if you've been on my channel longer than 5 minutes. But, it all breaks down to that. I thought Fireball was a precision spell, right? Just that blank look. Well, it's just such a great story. The lead up, the series of events that led to the devastating of that game. That's a great story. I don't know if I've ever told the story about how our entire campaign got wished into hell. That's a pretty good story. So, I don't think I've ever told you guys that one. So we were playing, and this is like the second time this happened too, where this individual somehow managed to wish an entire campaign into hell. So this happened twice. Now, the first time it happened, we were going through a series of adventures. It was sort of against the giants, and we'd reached the end of against the giants, and we were going to go through this massive end game dungeon that the DM had built in his garage. It was so freaking cool. There's an entire garage and all his miniatures and his props. He had laid the whole thing out on a giant table. I caught a glimpse of it through the doors. We're going into his house, and I was like, "Oh no, I can't wait!" But somehow we never ended up there, and that pissed him off so much because suddenly everybody decided we needed to go all the way back to Waterdeep and buy more magic items. Every character in that game, we were all high level. We all had a ton of magic items. And rather than going to the end, is like, let's just waste the DM's time and our players' time for 4 hours shopping in Waterdeep. And I was like, oh my God, can't we just go? And then when we came back, the DM's like, yeah, I'm not going to put it back together. We'll see what happens. So that whole scenario didn't happen. So we ended up doing something else. And somehow ended up with a ring of one wish. We ended up with one wish. And so I don't remember exactly the phrasing, unfortunately, This one does not stand out in my brain the way the Rodger and the Fireball one does, or the Young Keg ones. It's probably because I was the DM and this one I was a player. But yeah, this wish ended up in the hands of one of the players, and for some reason, they ended up wishing us into hell. So suddenly we are I don't remember. But yeah, suddenly the entire game's in hell and becomes us trying to escape from hell. And sort of this weird Charlie and the Chocolate Factory magic elevator that we somehow got trapped in, and my character got like reincarnated. It was very weird. And my character had a pet bag of devouring. I'd found a bag of devouring. I knew it was a bag of devouring. And I knew that I had a magic item that one of the other players was trying to steal from me. I don't remember why. And so I never told him that was the bag of devouring. And I tried to convince him that it was where I put the magic item, Now, actually, I'd gotten rid of the magic item. But I didn't want him to know that because he'd already like gone after me more than once. And I was like, fuck him, let him stick his hand in the bag of devouring. So I was like, oh yeah, I put it in my bag of holding. So I was like constantly trying to feed this bag of devouring to make sure it was alive, because I knew he was going to try and get it. And sure enough, while we're in this elevator ride to hell, and we're all getting randomly reincarnated and all these other things are happening. And suddenly I'm like an old man. And before that, I was like a woman. It was all very weird. He tries to get the bag and get the magic item out of the bag. And of course, gobble, gobble, gobble. And I was like, But yeah, we ended up in hell. The second time we were going through Legacy of Fire, run by my good friend, Mat Bromunds. We'd gotten to the tail end of Legacy of Fire. We were on the moon going through this weird Egyptian dungeon. Again, he just laid everything out, had this great thing with figures and all this stuff he'd picking up from Egypt, and like knockoff ancient Egypt stuff, and 99-cent store pyramids and statues. It's like we were going into an Egyptian tomb. And we get into this argument because we've got the two main NPCs arguing, and we have to choose basically who's right, to allow the next step of the story to go further in regards to this adventure and the end of the adventure and ending the Legacy of Fire. We have to choose who's right. So we need a judge. And I guess the role of the player characters was to judge the outcome of this debate. And then if one side of the debate won, certain events would happen. And if the other side of the debate won, other series of happens. And for some reason, we've been interacting with these two individuals throughout the campaign in one form or another. So we had reasons to dislike both of them and reasons to like both of them. So they were giving their final, I'm right speech, and we couldn't decide. None of us felt we decided. It's like we needed an impartial judge. So again, same guy, somehow he'd gotten his hands on another wish, and he's like, okay, well, who's the ultimate judge? We'll just wish for that ultimate judge to be here. And we're going through like the list of, NPCs we've met or whatever, and who's impartial. And, he's looking through the book and he goes, oh yeah, well, Asmodeus, right? He's the judge of hell. I'll just have him show up. So next thing we know, bam, we're in hell, courtroom of hell, facing the judge of, the demonic god of judges, Asmodeus, who will now preside as judge over this debate to decide who wins. And suddenly all our characters are now working for Asmodeus. So yeah, twice this guy sent an entire campaign to hell and all our characters got fucked. Usually I get screwed the most. I mean, Mat Bromunds definitely consistently liked to mess with my characters, probably because I thought it was, I don't think I ever complained when he did. I know when he tried to mess with other people's characters, it was only like when he forced me to be evil that I got upset, because I was always like, no, I think that should be my choice whether my character's evil or not. But generally, if he turned me into like a talking dog, he knew I'd run with it. So I think that's why if he wanted to do something weird, he'd let it happen to me, because he knew, like, if he did the other player and turned him in evil or turned him into a girl or whatever, they might get upset. But me, I was like, I'll run with it. Sure, I'll play a table. So yeah, second time we ended up in hell. Suddenly we're all in debt to Asmodeus in order to leave hell. We've all got to do something for Asmodeus. We've all got to decide whether we want to become evil or, whatever. It was weird. My character was sort of this engineer bard, Doctor Who was trying to start an industrial revolution on this fantasy world. So yeah, I was like, oh, well, you're going to give me access to all this, coal and hellfire and, unlimited energy sources in exchange for, whatever. Whatever. I'm an industrialist. I'm all about the machine. So yeah, those are pretty ridiculous things that's happened to me. Nothing tops Rodger and the Fireball. It's on here. You don't need me to tell you it again unless you really want me to. All you need to do is do a search through all the videos I made in the past, because I do that. I tell the story like twice a year. So yeah, wherever you are, Rodger Yoshida, out there in the world, best gaming experience, best gaming story ever. Nothing I've gone through since then has topped that. I've heard other people tell me some ridiculous stories, but for me as a game master, that perfect moment of just dominoes falling one after the other of ridiculousness, and then that dead face response, that's probably why it stands out the most. Just while everybody else was laughing and I was excited, there he is sitting there with this ashen face, like a rock in the middle of this cascading river of laughter. I thought Fireball was a precision spell. That's probably why it stands out the most. But yeah, so wherever you are, but dude, thank you. Great story. Just the best. Anyways, that's it. Happy New Year. I may do a live stream tonight for anybody who's homeless. I don't know. We'll see where the new year takes us, but Happy New Year. Stay safe, and I'll see you in 2025. In the year 2025, will man still be alive?